You
should
know,
also
for
be
one.
accountable to allow both sides to be spoken.
I think so. Yeah, you can't hide behind it. Yeah, it's a complex issue.
I agree.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit because
I agree.
we do have viewers that are watching this that have been banned. We actually have a lot of people on our show that have been censored, they've been banned. Can you go into more depth about what you did? I know you said you got creative and you went on Rumble and you went on different platforms, but you're stronger than ever. You are stronger than you were even 4 years ago. So censorship didn't stop you at all. So I want to talk about what you did for mindset.
Correct.
And what you did for resilience, and what actions you actually took to not stop. Because I do hear a lot of people get discouraged and then they don't want to do anything about it. But you were like, no, you were a lion. You said, you know what, you're going to try and censor me? I don't think so. So share with us more details of what you did, how you did it.
Well, I love that question. Thank you. It's very insightful. So during kind of when we were in the wilderness, that's what we call it. I'm a big Christian, and there's the book of Numbers, which actually means in the wilderness. So that phrase "in the wilderness" is very important for many ways. But we were in the wilderness for a couple of years, and I remember in the spring of 2023, it was very difficult. We were being censored on a lot of platforms. It was hard to get any traction. I stood firmly by President Trump. That was when his stock was probably at its lowest, right? Nobody thought Trump could win, and was all this nonsense. And so, but I still kept a very creative and firm mindset. And I remember I brought my team into a room and I said, we're not going to complain. Even though we're banned on all these platforms, and even though Elon is fixing stuff, we've got, not banned, but heavily censored. We got to figure something out. We have to be too big to censor, kind of like too big to rig, right? We have to create content that will be so interesting, that will be so compelling, that it will matriculate through the entire internet, and people will share it for us, and no matter what the tech titans do, it's going to penetrate. So I remember I sat with my team and I asked them, I said, of all the stuff that I do, and I do a lot, I do over 200 public speeches a year, I do 2 hours of radio a day, I travel the country, I do all this stuff. I asked them, I said, of all the stuff that we do, what is the stuff that is most likely to go viral? And they said, well, Charlie, honestly, going back to your roots and not just doing these campus events where you give a speech, but go with your card table and just take questions from these students for hours on end. And I said, you're right. So basically what we did, starting in the fall of 2023 all the way to today, is I visited well over 110 college campuses. I did over like 400 hours of campus debates. Wow. And we would just post these things online. And it was so overwhelming, and you guys have probably seen the videos, or your audience has. I mean, they're
yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you. They're hard to get away, right? So the strategy that we embraced is we're going to outwork everybody. We're going to have so much content. We're going to put it all up on the internet, and everyone will do the work for us. Everyone will edit it, they'll splice it, they'll talk about it, they'll text it, they'll message it, they'll comment on it. And so actually the censorship was a forcing function for me and for us to get even more creative, to push more boundaries. Where prior we were really relying on traditional communication methods, just sitting in a studio and talking. I said, no, we got to get out into the streets. Let's make it interesting. Let's make it, very provocative. Let's have the most insane college questions go to the front of the line. And I was doing that prior, but nothing at that scale, nothing at that magnitude, nothing at that kind of infrastructure. And, it's very interesting. All of a sudden, we were doing that. Then we stumbled a year ago, spring of 2024. We stumbled into, it was kind of the election was heating up. And I was used to doing these campus events, and like 30 kids would show up at lunch, and I would debate a couple of them, and they would go, all of a sudden I'd start showing up at university campuses last spring, and like 100 kids would show up, and like 200 kids would show up. And then the fall came during Trump's election, and like 1,000 kids would show up, and then 2,000 kids would show up. And then this last spring, as you guys might have seen, 3,000 kids are showing up, and 4,000 kids. I mean, no exaggeration, billions of views. And so, again, as a Christian, one of my favorite verses is Genesis 50:20, which is what the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good. So the enemy meant to censor us and to intimidate us and to just try to suffocate us, and it ended up being a tremendous blessing.